Hey guys, nice to see ya. We'll be doing the rest of Lynette's quest today. Yeah! So let's get started on that. Alright, let's see. Quests. And go to the... Oh, that was something else. That's... Hang out time. Oh, that's part of Lynette. Yeah, okay. So we go to the research center. Oh yeah, we found out the cat's owner was at the research center and they're under, like, they're doing some shady stuff with, like, some kind of drug or something. That they sold in the past, that they made a remake of it or something like that. Yay! Alright. Oh, Chevrolet's here. Yeah!
Lynette, you're, not at rehearsal?
Why's my mouth doing a frown? Ah. Okay, there we go.
You can drop the act, brother. In fact, I don't think either of us will have a need for acting anytime soon. You know better than to try and keep something from me. You've never been able to do that, even when we were kids.
And that's why I tried to distract you with the masked mime show. But I guess you're just too good.
Care to introduce us to your new assistant?
Oh.
This is Officer Shovras, captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol.
We meet again.
I've met her already.
Audio's distorted. Oh.
Nice to see you.
My audio? Oh, okay, let me see. It might be the thing I'm using, so let me see what's going on. Genshin Impact. It's the host, okay. Is it my voice? Or is it the Genshin? Let me see. Oh, hold on. Testing. Does that help? Does that sound better? Is it my voice? Is it... Hold on. No, I think it's okay. I do hear scratchy stuff. It might be, just might be my headphones then. So, I should have fixed it. Yeah. I should have fixed it now. Okay.
I should clarify something. Mr. Lenny's here at my invitation,
Oh.
not the other way around. To borrow your expression, Miss Lynette.
Okay.
I suppose that would make him my assistant more than anything.
He's investigating, yes.
We've brought on Mr. Lenny as a consultant in the past. He was instrumental in helping us crack a case involving a perpetrator who used magic tricks
That's
to commit
good.
crimes. I was hoping he'd be able to provide some valuable insight this time around as well.
Are you here because of the Lefevre case?
So you've heard everything then?
That's exactly why we're here. There's always been questions surrounding the fall of the Lefevre family. Some people even believe the House of the Hearth was involved.
Yeah, they were. Definitely. We all know that.
Whoever was behind it all was extremely cautious. They didn't leave a shred of evidence. This
I would
very
think so.
fact, however, leads me to believe it was indeed the work of that harbinger.
It was.
I took a look at the entrance and exit records of all the carriages that night. Let's just say it wasn't hard to deduce that there's ill will between you two.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I don't have any evidence to that effect, and I certainly don't plan on going to bat for such a despicable family. Plus, you were victims back then more than anything. I sought Mr. Lenny's help with the smuggling case. Nothing more.
You're really teaming up with the House of Hearth?
The way I look at it, it's a collaboration between us as people, not the organizations we represent. Besides, by working together, we can expose the truth as quickly as possible. You can hardly say that's at odds with the justice my organization strives for.
I'm assuming you wouldn't be opposed to some extra help?
Not at all. I was planning to invite you from the very beginning, Miss Lynette. It's just that my assistant here raised some objections.
Linny didn't want to involve her, I see.
Lenny, I'm not the same person I was back then.
She wants to face what she she did in the past,
That
yes.
little girl who did nothing but cower in the corner in fear, she doesn't need saving anymore.
I know you want to protect your little sister.
I'm sorry, Lynette. You're right. I let my concerns get the better of me.
Oh, and the next time you want to distract me, you should try a different approach.
Bonnie's there, like, yep.
Who's this?
Aw.
You pick up a stray while I was gone?
It's a bit complicated. I'll explain later. Anyway, her name's Bonnie.
Yeah. Kitty.
If there are no objections, then I suppose the only thing left to say is, Lynette,
Yeah.
welcome to the team.
Team. Yeah.
It appears the Lefebvre family was very particular in their use of insignias and emblems. The family would use different emblems to mark differences in status, blood relation, and the like. In fact, the insignia that was discovered on the pendant was used to represent an illegitimate child.
Oh yeah, they didn't mention Paimon. Paimon's been kind of quiet in the Hangouts, I noticed. So that means Pierre is a bastard child.
It's highly likely. That very status might have been what allowed him to emerge from the fall of his family relatively unscathed. It would also explain why he was able to assume a new identity as a researcher with relative ease.
Oh. Yeah, that was a thing way back. Back then, they would hide the kids that were from families like that, sadly. That was like a thing I was reading about. That was like a thing they did back then.
We discovered something interesting, though. After talking to some of his co-workers, it appears he pretty much works at the Institute in name only. He's practically been cast out.
Wait, what? Yeah.
Apparently, Pierre was once addicted to synth. He tried to use the resources of the Institute to create a substance with a similar effect.
So, basically he became drug addicted. Oh, I see.
He claimed it was just for research purposes, but the Institute revoked his access to the relevant materials regardless. He was placed on disciplinary leave, pending a thorough investigation of his actions.
So he's trying to remake it to, I guess, start it again?
But it seems the Institute ran into some trouble along the way. Could have been a lack of personnel or a timing issue. In any case, they had to table their formal investigation into Pierre. Unfortunately, that also included reporting any relevant information to the higher authorities.
Interesting. Okay.
As for his family background, it appears none of his co-workers at the Institute were aware of that information. All they could tell us was that he was quite the recluse.
Drug addiction is very hard to break, so I kind of see why he did it, but at the same time, it's not good for you. So I'm like, yeah. It's like, the use of fentanyl. A lot of hospitals use it. It's good in small doses, but in large quantities it could be addictive. And it caused a lot of addictions in the past. So I could see how that's a problematic. Maybe we'll have to take our... Do you find anything useful at his residence?
Other than the pendant, we didn't find anything else of note at his residence in Poisson.
It's kind of hard to deal with addiction. Once you're on something, it's hard to get off of it.
Based on the samples of imitation synth we've been able to analyze, it appears the substance leaves behind strong traces wherever it's produced or stored.
So, I'm guessing synth is like that kind of addiction he's dealing with.
Those traces might not be obvious to the casual observer, but they're not something our guard poodles would miss. Pierre's home, though, came up completely clean.
Oh. Wait. So, it's... They didn't find anything?
We didn't find any records indicating possible involvement in overseas transactions either. So, the Marechaussee Phantom didn't view him as a major suspect at first.
Ah.
Maybe he had a separate, dedicated area where he made the imitation synth.
I'm gonna do that Pokemon catch real quick. just to get that Pokemon. Alright, back to the game.
Well, his neighbors did say he was often gone for long stretches of time. You would think with him out and about so much, people would have spotted him around Poisson.
Ah, that makes sense, Frosty. I feel like if he maybe yeah, maybe because it was destroyed, yes, but I also know it kind of might be like an addiction. I don't know, because a lot of people are drawn to something that that when they have an addiction to that certain drug, so when they lose time not taking it, so maybe she tried to replicate to feel it again. I don't know. That's what I feel like might be going on.
If his reclusive nature was just a matter of keeping a low profile, I guess it would make sense for him to have a secret base to carry out his business.
I'm not an expert in this, but I'm trying to get an idea of what might be happening. I don't know.
After he disappeared, the guards conducted a thorough search of Poisson, but they didn't come across any suspicious locations.
But it could also be he's just trying to replicate it and resell it because it caused because of the loss of it. I don't know.
Poisson.
What is it, Lynette?
You know Hotel de Boer, where I first found Bonnie?
Yeah?
To get there from Poisson, you have to cross a stretch of ocean. It's not somewhere a cat could just wander off on its own.
True. Ah.
A cat? You mean...
He's most likely in the city.
Bonnie is Pierre's cat. Oh, that's right! When the Marechaussee Phantom first tracked him down, I remember there being something about a cat in their report.
Yep.
So this is her?
From what we've learned about Pierre's habits, he doesn't seem like the type to venture out without a purpose. So what you're saying, Lynette, is that Bonnie couldn't have gone missing in Poisson. If that's true, then...
She must have wandered off only after Pierre brought her to his secret base.
Exactly. Bonnie might even know where it is.
Oh.
Wait. You think the cat can lead us there?
Yep.
But she's not trained like one of our guard poodles. How is she supposed to understand what we want her to do?
Well, cats tend to lead people back to where they need to go. Cats are good at that, I believe. Yeah. Animal handling, I can give it a go. Meow meow. Lynette could give it a try. Oh. Thank you! Thank you so much, Frosty. It's appreciated. Thank you for the welcome. I'll try to give the animal handling try. I'm curious. Okay, so I gotta check objective 12. 6. Ooh, not enough. Startled, Bonnie rushes to hide behind Lynette.
Guess she's a little skittish around strangers.
I'll leave it to you then.
Meow. Meow meow.
Aww.
Meow.
I am not good with the animals in game. Bonnie seems to understand what you want her to do.
Near the coast, the beach, and beneath the cliffs. The place we're looking for is most likely north of the court of Fontaine.
Ah.
Well, I've certainly never taken a witness statement like this before.
Well, if it works out, maybe it's something worth getting used to.
Aw.
Cats and humans are actually pretty alike. When it comes to communication, most of what we want to convey can be accomplished through body language alone. But humans tend to rely too much on speech to ever take advantage of that fact.
Ah, okay. You got stuck here. Aha. Hopefully I won't get that stuck.
Body
We'll see.
language has its limitations. You're not going to be able to get across anything too complicated.
That is true what Lynette is saying. Like, for instance, I communicate a lot with animals using body language and reading their body language. Like, believe it or not, when I work on the farm, The chickens basically tell me what they want. They will basically greet me when I come to the farm because they're excited to see me. They will peck at my my coat pocket because they're looking for treats and they're telling me, get some treats for us. They're pretty easy to read, but I also can tell what the dog's thinking and what, like, when she's looking for attention and to get into trouble, she will start climbing and reaching for laundry. I'm like, don't do that, and she knows, and she sits down. Animals do that. They're good at showing body language like that.
The important thing is that we now have a lead. Let's try and find a place that matches the clues Bonnie gave us.
I love my pupper, but she's a mischief maker. I think she does it so we play with her, though. But it's not good that she tries to chew up underwear or socks that are on the laundry table. So I tried to make sure she goes for toys rather than laundry. Thank you, Frosty. It's appreciated. Go check the suspicious location. Okay. So let me see how far that is. Oh, it's right over here. I'll just teleport over there. Yeah, but we have a laundry table, so basically we put it on the table to fold, and we leave it there to pack away. Yeah, so sometimes while we leave it there, while we're making a pile to pack away and bring it upstairs, because my parents' house has like 3 floors. There's the basement. There's the kitchen / living / dining room, and then there's the upstairs, which is the bedrooms where we keep all the laundry. So we make like a huge pile of folded clothes, and then we put it in like these bins and bring it upstairs. So sometimes when they're folded on the table, she will try to steal it off the table while they're folded and dig into the laundry and find something to chew and run around with it. Yeah, it's a pretty big house. It's not like fancy. We have a next door neighbor that has a really huge house, but it's basically like a 3-floor house.
Seems like Bonnie is trying to take us somewhere.
Originally it was like a house that had 1 floor, but they built like a 2nd floor on top. It's interesting. Is a house made like in the 70s. It still has some copper pipes which we had to replace, honestly, from the bathroom. It's interesting. Following Kitty. Yeah. Oh. Gotta protect Cat. Ooh. Ooh! After my stream, I'll try to raid her, definitely.
Order guide you. Evil conquering. Worthless. Here. Worthless. Here. Shine down! Useless!
Alright, let's see.
Inazuma shines eternal! Illusion shattered! Disappear!
Now to get Nervalet, yep. I'll try to get that extra constellation for Nervalet as well.
Wow, Lynette, you found this place so easily. If I thought there was any chance you'd say yes, I'd recruit you into the Special Patrol here and now. No questions asked.
Sounds familiar. I pretty much receive letters daily from people trying to poach her from me.
Let's just focus on our search. There's a lot to investigate.
Ah, true. Alright, let's see what these are. Investigate.
Aha! Just as we thought.
Oh, those are the
This is where
synth.
The imitation synth was being made.
These bottles and jars, they're all imitation synth?
Looks like he's got more than just imitation synth stashed around here. In addition to the raw materials needed to synthesize the substance itself, there's a large quantity of cleaning agents and a few drugs I haven't been able to identify.
Interesting. Okay.
The cleaning agents are likely used to dispel traces of the substance, like its smell.
Oh, so like to cover up. That makes sense.
The Special Patrol did some digging into imitation synth. Our records indicate that it's very difficult for ordinary people to detect traces left behind by the stuff. I'm sure that was the case for Pierre as well. It must have taken a considerable amount of time and skill to ensure all those traces get washed away. But what are these other drugs for?
Alright. So there's more to it.
The material these bags are made of, it's quite rare.
Yeah, I never seen bags like that. Doesn't it look similar to material used for magic
It's
pockets?
the very same, actually.
Oh.
Flower fiber. But there's something special about the composition of these bags. I took a closer look, and it appears they're not only waterproof, but also corrosion and leak resistant.
Oh.
Even the strings look specially designed to keep the bags closed nice and tight. I came across some bags made of the same material just now, but they were much smaller and thinner. From the look of them, they seemed far less durable as well.
So kind of like the small sealed
Very
bags?
similar, actually. Normally, it would be easy for a guard poodle to sniff out the imitation synth, but if it was sealed away in a bag like that, it might be possible to elude detection for some time.
Ah, so he cleans to elude detection and uses those bags.
But what could these big bags be for then? If the goal is to keep the imitation synth hidden and sealed away, these bags seem a bit too conspicuous.
True. Maybe he's shipping the bag somewhere. Alright, now we just gotta find the next piece of evidence. Oh, the cat.
When the Marechaussee Phantom searched Pierre's house, there was no sign of these barrels, right?
Must have moved them, but carried them all the way out here would attract too much attention.
You're right. That doesn't seem like his way of doing things. How did he get them here then?
So we gotta examine the barrels. Barrels show signs of water damage. Straight up water stains can be seen around the comforts. Oh, so he was shipping them in the water. He was probably having them go through the water somewhere. Like a canal. There are patterns of the location of water stains. For some reason they appear limited to lower half of the barrels. The lids don't seem very tight and sizable gaps around the edges, but there doesn't appear to be any traces of water inside the barrels.
Only the lower halves of the barrels appear to have been submerged in water.
So he shipped, basically putting this down like some
Based on the
canal.
various ingredients we found, this appears to be where Pierre was cooking up his imitation synth. It looks like he used a special cleaning agent to get rid of any residual traces of the substance on his person before he left. That's how he was able to get past the guard poodles.
That's why the I can't say that word. Marechaussee Phantom didn't find any suspicious in his home.
So then he transferred the imitation synth into small sealed bags and took it somewhere else for the drop-off.
Okay.
No. I don't believe our suspect is the kind of person who'd go around carrying incriminating evidence with him. That would potentially create too many eyewitnesses. The cleaning agent and the sealed bags might get past the guard poodles, but if a member of the public or even a guard on patrol happened to see him during the drop-off, a quick search would reveal everything.
What if
That's still a very risky operation.
What if the drop-off happened at sea? There'd be no one to see
The
him.
barrels we found were wet on the base, but the top half was dry. As if they'd been standing upright in the water.
Oh, so he sets out the barrels in the sea somewhere, and it's like a drop-off, so someone comes by and opens the barrels. Oh. That makes sense. So that's why they're floating at the base, and then on the top half, there would be like something to keep those in, to store.
If you put a barrel in the water, it will normally float on its side. Unless it's heavily loaded, in which case it'll sink.
To tightly seal big bags full of air. Oh! So like a weight. Turning them into an airtight flotation device.
Yes. With flotation
Mar-o-shi. Ah,
they'd
okay.
stay
Thank you,
upright in the
Frosty.
water. And then he could afford to load them more fully.
Oh, so he's using those bags as flotations. The synth is inside the barrels. And they're floating in the water. Ah, I see.
I think he used floating barrels? I suppose if he acted at night, when there are very few other boats around and visibility is low, it's a valid theory. We can't rule it out.
But then, wouldn't the barrels be carried off by the waves or the currents? How would the person doing the pickup know where to look?
Sounds difficult to keep in one place. Kind of like a certain pet. Oh.
Traveler, can you come take a dip in the sea with me?
Okay.
I have a feeling that somewhere down there, we might find some rope.
Ah.
If a rope can be used to keep a pet from running away, then why not a barrel?
That's true. So he's basically tying them down or something. Or using a weight, most likely. So we'll go take a dip in the sea. I honestly rather take... That lightning almost struck me as I went down. Okay.
The wreckage of a small
Oh.
boat.
So, there was a wreckage. There seems to be something odd. Investigate.
Time to go up and report.
Okay. So, there's a wreckage, and we found rope. Something happened?
As expected, we found a few pieces of rope and some anchoring stones underwater.
Ah, yep.
If you attach them to a floating barrel, it would look like this.
Yeah, so it's basically anchored by the weight, and it floats. Ah, smart.
With this anchoring system, it would be possible to use floating barrels for the drop-off. You would just need to drop them in the water at the agreed-upon location. We also came across the wreckage of a small boat. It must have been left out on the water and capsized due to the force of the wind and waves. Its small size, however, would have made it perfect for staying undetected.
Ah.
Let's talk this through. Based on the evidence we've collected, it seems like Pierre would row a small boat out to the agreed-upon transfer point, drop off the barrels, leave, and then row back and retrieve them after the transfer was complete.
Wouldn't it be easier for both parties to meet up at the transfer port on their respective vessel and exchange the goods right then? But then there would... Okay, why such a convoluted drop-off method, though?
It could be that he was trying to avoid meeting up with his associate face-to-face. As one of the sole survivors of the Lefebvre family, maybe he was just used to that sort of elusive lifestyle.
Okay.
It seems like Pierre deliberately chose the floating barrel method so that the goods could be dropped off and picked up at separate times. That way, the two parties wouldn't have to meet each other.
True.
Well, if that's the case, they must not have a very close working relationship.
We're talking about criminals, so, I guess.
Let's not jump to any conclusions just yet. Assumptions can be detrimental to solving a case.
Okay.
It's possible they were just trying to keep a low profile.
Exactly, that's what I
Sailing
feel.
to the same location at once could be too conspicuous.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing is that we can now confirm Pierre wasn't acting alone. The floating barrel drop-off system is proof enough of that.
Yes.
Let's say for now that he was only in charge of producing the imitation synth. That would mean there has to be at least one other person involved in the operation, likely in charge of transporting the goods across the border.
That explains why we couldn't find the evidence of him linking to any overseas operations.
Since we've determined that the goods were transported by boat, maybe we can track down some travel logs or something.
We can certainly check the various ports for that information. It's possible, however, that Pierre's associate also used a small boat for the transport and docked along the shore rather than at a large port. If that's the case, it's unlikely there would be any record left behind.
Have you looked into the ports already?
Absolutely. Before Pierre disappeared, we made sure to investigate all sorts of outward-bound vessels. We also had port authorities keep a lookout for anything suspicious.
The lightning in the background is scaring me. It's just very close to Chevrolet and us.
Unfortunately, we were never able to find out how they managed to get the imitation synth across the border.
A small boat and a few barrels isn't going to get you very far.
You're right. Whatever vessel was used for the pickup, the person responsible for smuggling the substance out of Fontaine would have had to use a larger vessel for the actual transport. That's the only way they would be able to smuggle on a large enough scale to make a profit. They must have found a way to disguise the imitation synth to clear port inspections.
I love how we're just casually talking about this conversation where lightning is just striking the background crazy. Oh, it's scaring. And honestly, it's so close. Look at that. Well, even if we can't find any travel logs, we can still search for other clues.
Exactly. We can't let any opportunities slip through the cracks. Although, given the amount of ports that could be involved, we should probably split up.
Yes.
I'll run home and ask some of my brothers and sisters to try and dig up some information.
There was one time I was with someone in Genshin, and as they were in a cutscene, they got striked, so it's just given me anxiety.
I should also head back and update my platoon on our progress. I'll grab some reinforcements while I'm at it. Lynette?
All right. Come on, Bonnie.
Aw, the kitty. Aw. I love the cat. Alright, so right here seemed like a safe spot, so that's good. So go to the harbor. Yeah, it's weird that even in cutscene you could get striked by lightning. Alright, let's see.
Stopped. I don't concern myself with the weather.
I'm glad we're out of that lightning. We had to change areas.
Oh, Lynette, traveler. And Bonnie, too.
Aw.
What brings you all here?
Did something happen?
We're here to track the travel logs. You update them on the situation.
Oh. I see. Thank you for everything you're doing for the people of Fontaine.
What are you doing here?
I'm in charge of guarding the port.
Ah.
You mentioned you were after some travel logs, right? I can go fetch those for you.
Yes. Thank you.
Looks like I've got another hard day of work ahead of me.
Aw. Are things usually pretty hectic around here?
No, not usually. It's this incident that happened recently. Before that, everything was normal. All we had to do was confiscate anything suspicious and we could call it a day. Pretty simple stuff.
Incident?
But things are much more complicated now. We somehow let suspicious cargo pass through the port undetected. Not even our guard poodles were able to sniff it out. Even worse, we still don't know how the perpetrator was able to conceal the goods so well.
Oh.
By suspicious cargo, do you mean imitation synth? Yep.
However, prohibited substances are just one example. We confiscate all sorts of contraband during the course of our inspections. Or at least, we're supposed to.
So the contraband is getting hard to detect.
So what happens to the goods you confiscate?
Oh, we keep them in a storage locker. If they turn out to be something particularly dubious, we'll turn them over to the Maison Orderly.
Huh?
If the goods are only slightly suspicious but could otherwise be harmless, like raw materials that could potentially be used to create contraband, we return them to the ship they were confiscated from, instead of letting them pass through the port.
Uh-huh.
Sorry for the wait. These are the travel logs for all the recent activity at the port.
Okay. Oh, the guard dog's so cute with the little hat.
Oh, you brought Gerard with you.
Actually, he followed me here himself.
Huh?
It's...
Aww.
Huh. I wonder why Gerard is reacting to you two so strongly.
Could it because we left the place where imitation synth was made?
Huh? We were so careful not to touch it, but we still ended up with traces on us. If it leaves a residue so easily, I just don't understand how the culprit was able to disguise the goods at all.
That's true.
Why don't you have a look at the travel logs first? All ships coming in and out of the port are recorded here, except for the ones the port authorities ride to and from work.
Alright. You flip through numerous logs, you notice several instances where Humane Society is listed. The name really stands out.
The Humane Society.
We've encountered that organization before, right?
Their name is all over the exit logs. The purpose for leaving is always listed as overseas adoption.
Uh-huh.
Ah, the director of the organization explained that, actually. He said a lot of the cat and dog breeds unique to Fontaine are also very popular overseas. So, his organization offers an overseas adoption program.
Oh.
Bernard, the director of the Humane Society, was the man who came looking for Bonnie earlier.
Oh, true. Wonder what that has to do with the sync production. It must be using the animals in some form. The cat that fled from Pierre looks just like the cat that the Humane Society is looking for. Could that really be a coincidence? It seems as if Bernard is also hiding something. He seemed so insistent, but only ran a cursory check before leaving like that. When he came looking for Bonnie, or what if he actually wasn't there to check if Bonnie was his missing cat? Maybe he was there for some other purpose. Oh, maybe the cat was hiding something. I know that the cat carries a collar, right? So maybe there was like synth hidden behind the bow or some way to hide the synth on the animals. Oh.
Have you figured it out too, Traveler? The way the criminal disguised the goods?
Yep.
When Bernard asked to take a closer look at Bonnie, he was actually checking whether there was any imitation synth in her stomach.
Wait, they put it in the he was using the animals out his shelter? That...
Wait, what?
The sealed bags we found at the secret base. They were specially made to be corrosion resistant.
So they wouldn't be digested. Oh.
There were gaps around the lids of the barrels, and airbags were used to keep them upright in the water.
So the animals would be able to breathe. That is just horrible. That's not humane at all.
Those drug Shivers found at the secret base. She most likely didn't recognize them because they're not used on human beings. It's an anesthetic used on pets. The perpetrator must have given it to the animals.
That's horrible.
Pierre must have made the animals swallow the sealed bags full of imitation synth at his secret base. Then he stuffed them into floating barrels and left the rest to Bernard.
I do not like that at all.
The sealed bags combined with an animal's body odor would certainly be enough to mask the scent of imitation synth.
That's not right at all.
During our inspections. We would have never thought to inspect the bellies of those animals for anything suspicious. Even if we tried to feel around for something, I'm sure it would be difficult to detect.
True.
Exactly. I bet Bernard even transported animals with synth in their stomach alongside ones without. That way, it would be even harder to say with certainty that something was amiss.
Do you think Bonnie could have had imitation synth in her stomach?
She's probably in the clear. Otherwise, Bernard would have never left without her.
True.
I'm guessing he didn't know whether Pierre had already hidden the next batch of imitation synth before he fled.
Okay.
Just imagine. He sees the notice we put in the Steambird, and it turns out that one of the very cats he gave to Pierre for the smuggling operation is out in the open, roaming the streets of Fontaine. If Pierre had already hidden the next batch of imitation synth, then Bonnie would practically be living proof of their crimes.
True.
He would have had no choice but to go after her.
So, that's why he came to find you and insisted on taking a closer look at the cat.
Pierre must have fled in a hurry. The fact is probably what spared Bonnie. Yep.
Wait a second, I'm a little lost here. I get the part about hiding the substance in the pets, but those, what did you call them again? Floating barrels? Why even put the animals in there in the first place? If you've got something as convenient as a floating barrel, why not just stuff it with the imitation synth directly? Why not wait to hide the stuff until after the exchange has been made?
In order to make sure the animals could swallow the sealed bags, they made them extremely thin. Had they not done that, the animals would have likely bitten or chewed through them.
And if any of the imitation synth leaked out, oh no.
That step would have required a lot of energy, as well as a certain amount of technical expertise. So it was better left to the more experienced Pierre.
That's just
We've already
horrible.
proven how easy it is to pick up trace amounts of imitation synth, so I'm sure Bernard was taking all the precautions he could to avoid the same fate.
Okay, then let's head to the Humane Society right away and bring that guy to justice.
Yes.
I'll bring a...
Alright. To the Humane Society. That was definitely wrong. I do not like that one bit. That was horrible that they did that. I do not like any animals being that done to. That was...
The headquarters of the Humane Society should be somewhere around here. Bernard could show up any moment now.
You're the people from earlier.
Oh.
Wait, you're from the guards?
Yeah, you're in trouble, buddy.
After him! We can't let him get away!
Oh, we're getting him. Definitely. Okay, got it.
Give it up, Bernard.
Mercy, have mercy. I'll talk. I'll tell you everything I know.
Yep, you better.
The Humane Society has done so much good over the years, and yet you have committed such an atrocious deed in its name.
Yep.
Look, I didn't have a choice, okay? My father cared about those blasted animals so much, he didn't bother to take care of his human wife and son at all. While those animals were showered with love, I lived worse than a dog.
Animals love unconditionally. And even though he showered them with love and you lived worse, that's no reason to treat them worse than what you dealt with.
No one asked. Tell me, how did you first get to know Pierre?
Well, after I took over the Humane Society, it gradually became harder and harder to maintain its operations. Until one day, someone suddenly passed me a letter. It said that I could stand to get a large sum of money as long as I helped them to transport some animals abroad. It was only after a few such transports that I finally understood what I was really transporting.
Wait, you did? Oh?
But then, Pierre wrote to me. saying that we were already partners in crime and that I better keep cooperating with him if I didn't want to be reported to the guards.
He just did it? Insight checks assess. Okay. There was a hint of dishonest deceit. Oh, he's lying.
You knew it from the very beginning, didn't you? The reason why you had to go through so many steps just to transport some animals.
That's just wrong.
I'd suggest that you confess everything right now if you don't want to add anything else to your list of crimes.
Yes, officer. I would order wooden barrels and flotation devices according to his instructions, and then load the sleeping animals onto a boat. Once I sailed to the location he provided, I would dump everything together into the sea. And a few days after that, I'd come by again in my boat and pick up the animals sleeping in the barrels. Once I had received enough of them, I'd bring them to the harbor to be adopted abroad. That guy, Pierre, he was running the entire show. He set up all the meeting times and found all the foreign adopters. Oh, and he even supplied all of the goods too. I just did the transport. He was the one who planned out and executed everything else.
So where's he now?
Look, I don't know, okay? I've never ever met him in person. We've only ever communicated through letters.
And when did he send his final letter to you?
Just last night, he said that the Marshalsea Phantom is now after him, so he's planning to go into hiding for some time. He didn't mention where he's thinking about going, though, but he did tell me to look out for the guards.
It's been a few days since Pierre's last appearance. I'd wager that he sent that letter after he found his hiding spot.
Where's the letter now?
I burned them. It was on his orders. I had to burn every letter after reading them.
Oh, Marshalsea. Thank you, Frosty.
Sure sounds like you're trying to use the lack of witnesses or evidence to pin the blame on Pierre.
No, I swear, this time I'm only telling you the truth.
Well, we can check the truth of your statements at the Opera House. I hope you know what'll be coming for you if I were to find any discrepancy between the evidence and the testimony you just gave.
Exactly.
I know. I swear I was just telling the truth.
My thanks to you both. Had it not been for you, I really don't know what would have happened to this case.
Bonnie helped, too.
Yeah.
That's true. It was all thanks to her that Bernard was finally exposed.
True. Aw, Bonnie. We still gotta find Pierre. Bonnie suddenly runs and hides behind Lynette. Aw.
And it looks like she's grown quite fond of you two as well.
Then
I'll leave you be. Just let me know if you find any other new leads.
Okay. Insight success. Lynette's expression seems a bit off. Seems that Lynette still has something on her mind. Ah. So let's talk to Lynette. Something on your mind still?
It was that obvious, huh? Well, even though it didn't feel like Bernard was lying, after talking to him, I'm getting an even stronger sense that something's not quite right.
Oh?
We investigated so quickly that perhaps we've missed a thing or two along the way. Let me activate deduction mode and consider things again from the top to see if we can find anything new.
Okay.
Is there still anything unresolved or strange that we should try to consider?
About what we found in Person about Bernard's letter, there is that unexplained part of the operations of this trafficking ring. That's true.
Well, we've discovered that Bernard is responsible for the trafficking, while Pierre deals with supplying the goods. Is there something else in this scheme that we're missing?
True. Alright, so now we gotta figure this part. No, I'm usually bad. Okay, let's see. Let's start with connections. Terminated. Any past members of the Ver family would probably have a number of connections outside of Fontaine. Communication. Interpret. Oh, Hold on, I gotta pick something else. They would always communicate in writing. All the letters had been burned, so we can no longer confirm traces of anything. Handoff. Interpret. We already proven that Bernard and Pierre currently need their hand off by barrels. Ingredients. Interpret. According to Chever's investigators, Pierre formally reprimanded for his synth and related research can no longer get any materials from Fontaine Institute. Ledger. Interpret. Bernard can compensate for his work in competing shipments. No suspicious records would be left as he receives the fund as individual rather than the Humane Society. So let's submit conclusion of Ledger, maybe? No, I don't. Okay.
There's no need to rush. Let's see if we can find any other suspicious points about this.
Okay, so we gotta try that again. About what we found in Fersan.
Marechaussee Phantom found Bonnie and the Lefebvre pendant at Pierre's residence. That was the beginning point of our investigation.
Yes, that was the end of Lefebvre, the pendant. Let's go with the pendant. Interpret. The pattern on the pendant is proof that the owner is a legitimate child of Lefebvre, but this shouldn't be all. The end of Lefebvre. Interpret. The Lefebvre family is famous for Fontaine, and even their innocent scions became targets of French, but Pierre just carried the pendant with him as if it was an ordinary piece of jewelry. Associate. Let's go with Bonnie. Triggering decision. Okay. Okay, handoff? Alright. Initial suspicions. Pierre became the key suspect of the case because of the suspicious cat and suspicious pendant. Alright. Bonnie. Interpret. Bonnie has been with Pierre since the first meeting between Pierre and the Marechaussee Phantom. That's why Lodi came looking for him, but that shouldn't be all. Okay, handoff. Interpret. According to Bernard, the traffic animal were taking directly to Pierre's base rather than Passan. Huh. I don't think that can be used to answer the question.
No need to rush.
Okay. So, the letter.
Bernard claims to have received a letter last night from Pierre. In the letter, Pierre stated that he had gone into hiding. Is there something wrong with the letter?
Letter's delivery method. Let's interpret. Regardless of whether he is sent honestly or secret, delivered it himself. It's no longer something we can follow up on. The lost cat, Bonnie. Bonnie has already been on the loose for a few days. When we found her yesterday morning, that means she was already broken free when the letter was written. Oh. The letter's purpose. The point of the letter was to tell Bernard to get on his guard. And why didn't it also warn him about Bonnie? Interpret again. Still interpret again? Interpret. The letter didn't mention Pierre's hiding spot, although it makes sense that Pierre wouldn't want anyone to find him. Okay, let's submit the deliveries. That might be it. No. Oh.
There's no need to rush.
Okay. I did not do good at those. Okay.
Now behave and.
That hurt.
Competition. They're going to leave. Is it really okay to let them go? Let's see. 10. Check failed. We can leave Bernard interrogation to the guards. Let's rescue the animal of the Humane Society. Yep.
Really over? I still feel like The relationship between Pierre and Bernard is not as simple as it appears.
It's definitely not.
Also, I've had this strange sense that something's off the entire time we've been on the case. And it has only gotten worse.
Okay.
Ugh.
Oh.
No good. I've still got nothing, and I'm nearly out of energy.
Don't force yourself.
Alright, I'll stop thinking about it for now. At the very least, we've made it so that no more animals will suffer like those poor animals did. And that's what I hope.
Okay.
Let's go to the Humane Society and see if there are any animals left that might still need our help.
Yeah.
Before my energy for today completely
Aw.
runs out.
Aw, we're helping animals. Alright, so we'll save that. Okay, let's go to the quest, because we still have more paths we can take. Key for today. We did that one. Still more paths, so let's see where those paths go. So, it looks like there was a separate ending from figuring out those clues, the ending hints. Okay, so there was definitely a separate ending. So we'll continue from those questions where we talked to Lynette. I could kind of see where we had to go with it, but something's still on your mind.
We investigated, so is there still anything
So, about what we found in
Bernard
Busan.
Safe Lantern found Bonnie and the Lefevre pendant at
So let's talk about end of the pet handle, turpin. End of the Lefevres. Wow. Associate. So we'll do that with Bonnie. Nope. Nope. Pet handle? Alright. The initial suspects, a turpin. Pierre became a key suspect in the case of the suspicion of the cat's suspicious pendant. A turpin. Bonnie had Pierre first meeting between Pierre and say Phantom, and that's why they came looking for her, but that shouldn't be all. Alright. I'll interpret this say. Thank you, Frosty. See, Pierre became the key suspect in the case. End of interpret this again? This became target of revenge, but Pierre just carried the pendant with him as if it was an ordinary piece of jewelry. Let's interpret this again. Alright. Let's submit conclusion here.
Why would he leave such an obvious trail for us to follow when he took so much care to not leave any traces of imitation synth in his home?
That's true. Okay, Bernard's letter.
Bernard claims to have received a letter last night from Pierre. In the letter,
So... yeah... Well, the delivery method. The lost cat. Escape location. Interpret again. The letter's purpose. The escape location. Delivery method. And I'm guessing we'll submit the letter's purpose.
if Bonnie had imitation synth in her body, then she was a liability that had to be recovered at all costs.
Yes.
But if she wasn't carrying anything, then it would have made sense to tell Bernard not to worry.
True.
And thinking about it, Bernard only attracted our attention in the first place because he came to look for
True.
Bonnie. Could it be that the person who wrote the letter also knew nothing about Bonnie's whereabouts?
Ah.
Or they had a separate goal entirely?
Okay. Explain
We
operations.
discovered that Bernard is
So... communication. connections. Okay. Handoffs. Ledger. Ingredients. Let's see. Ledger. I say I'll submit. Let's see. Let's be Turfit again. No. I guess I'll submit connections. No.
There's no need to rush.
Okay, so we did not figure that out. Okay. I think we failed because of that, right? Because we didn't figure it out. So let's try that again. I gotta keep going back. Oh. We got most of it. Let's just check if it does change at all.
Now behave and
Okay. So we have to get a different check. This one. Nope. Oh, not quite.
Is everything I still feel like also?
Oof. We failed that check.
No good. I've still got nothing.
Just leave it to you.
Alright. I'll stop thinking about it for now.
Alright, leave it to Linny and the others.
Let's go to the unit before my energy.
Okay, so I think that's the same ending, yep. Alright, let's try this again. Yeah, I could see why. It's repeating the same part over and over till you get it right. So, what we do is we go back to the questions, continue playing. So we got some of it correct. Okay. Something still in mind.
We investigated. Is there still any?
Okay. So what about the sun? So pendant. End of Lorraine. Associate. And head off. Wait, Bonnie. No. Head off. Okay. Initial suspicion. And then it would be Turpit Bonnie. Turpit. Then submit conclusion.
Why would he leave such an obvious trail for?
Oh, escape location? Oh, okay.
Bernard claims to have
Delivery method, interpret. Interpret this. Okay. Letter's purpose, interpret. Escape location. Then submit conclusion. No.
There's no need to rush.
Okay.
Well,
So, communication. Ingredients. Connections. Turbit. Narcan. Okay. Handoff. So it's left with these three. Connections, ledger, and ingredients. So with that, APAS members would have a number of connections outside of the, and then there's the ledger. And you could, okay, so I'm thinking it's connection, either connections or ledger. Let's see. I'm gonna say... Which one did I pick last time? I'll try ingredients?
yeah. According to
Oh.
Pierre also supplied all of the goods.
Mm-hmm.
But if the Marechaussee Phantom's records are correct, Pierre should have lost all access to the materials required to create the imitation synth. And the Institute has also not reported any theft of their stocks.
Okay, so it's ingredients. So now we gotta beat the detectives thing.
Now behave and follow me.
Ow! That hurt. Ow!
They're about to... Okay. I gotta beat them. This one. Nope. Nope, didn't work. Alright,
Is everything... I still feel like... Also...
alright. Skip. So we got close. Okay. I got an idea now. I think I got the idea how to do this. So... Yeah, it's annoying. The fate-o-meter really has it out for me. It did not want to... Yeah, it really is. It really is unnecessary, I will say that. Okay. So I think I got this.
We investigated... Is there still any...
So...
The Marechaussee Phantom...
We'll do this. Pendant. End of Lever. And then we associate with the pet handoff. Initial suspicion. And then submit conclusion.
Why would he leave such...
And then for the letter, letter's delivery method. Escape location. And then lost cat dawning. And then letter's purpose. And then we submit conclusion.
If Bonnie had imitation synth in her body, and thinking about it, could it be that the person...
Okay, now the last one.
Well, we've just...
So... the communication. The handoff. Connections. The ledger. And the ingredients. And then it would be submit the ingredients.
Yeah, according to Bernard, the final question is, why did I sense that something wasn't right after hearing Bernard's testimony? Even more so than before.
Now this is where we get it. Bernard's statement, Pierre's conflicting behavior. Let's go with Bernard's statement, interpret. Both written letters hand off using floating barrels of communication that can be intercepted. Pierre's conflicting behavior. Oh. Interpret. An accomplice that was never met. Oh. Bernard said he has never met Pierre in person. Submit conclusion. Okay. We're getting there. Interpret. Pierre made such complicated operations plan, yet also exposed himself easily in the investigation. Does Pierre have multiple personnel? Huh? It almost feels like the plan and expose were done by two separate individuals, and Pierre was set up. Associate. They trigger association. The conflict was never met. There's still a third person out there. Even Bernard himself never knew that there was Pierre had been pulling the strings. It was someone else. Submit conclusion.
Deductive mode deactivated.
Yeah!
I think we may be close to the actual answer.
Now we gotta talk to the guard.
Behave and follow me to the interrogation room.
Ow! That hurt.
Alright, now we gotta somehow... Okay. Clue. Initial suspicion of... So... this area didn't work. This area didn't work. I'm gonna go with this card. Will work. Yes! Check success. No, we can't let her get away. Hold it right there.
Is there something else you need from me, traveler?
Bernard and Pierre, they weren't really acting alone, were they?
I see.
Yeah.
It all makes sense now.
Hey, what are you talking about? Look, even our confessed criminal here has no idea what you're saying.
Because he has been kept in the dark all along. And I assume it's the same with Pierre.
Bernard thought he was communicating with Pierre. But for all this time, neither of them knew.
That never quite added up for me. Why did Pierre feel compelled to return to his home with Bonnie and the pendant and make them so easy to find for the Marechaussee Phantom?
Any animals Pierre received from the floating barrel should have been taken directly to his base.
Both of these things are in stark contrast to his usual meticulous and vigilant behavior. There's only one reasonable explanation. He was following orders, just like Bernard.
Yep.
He probably received the following instructions right before the Phantom came knocking on his door. Bring the cat and the pendant, and our undercover agent will be sure to help you. Unbeknownst to him, however, the third person who wrote that letter to him had long decided to sacrifice him and Bernard to save themselves.
They instructed the two men to communicate through the letters and the barrel specifically so they never get to meet each other.
What? You can't be serious. There was a third person involved?
If you focus only on Bernard's testimony, it's easy to believe that only Bernard and Pierre were working together. The case appeared extremely simple. Bernard did the trafficking, Pierre the imitation synth production, drugging, and stuffing.
With everything accounted for, the third person would be then cleared of all suspicion.
Wait, but that doesn't make any sense. If that's the actual truth, then as soon as Pierre is caught, he'll explain his side of the story and the third person will...
Yep, which is why the third person made sure that Pierre would never be found again.
I see.
Once they had instructed Pierre to expose himself, the third person wrote to Pierre again, suggesting that everything had been taken care of, and he should take Bonnie and safely return to his base.
And they made him disappear.
Of course, Pierre's disappearance at such a sensitive time immediately made him a prime suspect. Knowing that Bonnie had last been seen with him, all the third person would have to do from that point on would be to lead the Phantom to investigate the Humane Society and get Bernard to confess the truth.
Bernard would then testify that Pierre was the one who came up with the whole plot.
Wait, so you're saying that the letter I received yesterday, the one that made me think Pierre was still alive, it was also sent by the third person?
Yeah.
Is that what happened? I'll get back to headquarters right away and reinvestigate this case from the top.
Not so fast.
Chevra said that assumptions can be detrimental to solving a case. Someone among us, however, has been feeding us all kinds of preconceived notions ever since our first meeting.
Oh?
They suggested that Pierre's disappearance was an attempt to escape the judgment of the law, and that Pierre was a scion of the Lefebvre family. But if the disappearance is truly just a cover-up for a murder, then couldn't the true scion have been an illegitimate daughter, rather than an illegitimate son?
Miss Lodi Lefebvre? Oh.
Haven't you taken this joke a bit too far? You're right. I did let a lot of assumptions get to my head when I first started to talk to you about the case. I'll make sure to correct my behavior.
You deliberately fed us lies, but even you could not control every last detail of your plan. There was a flaw in your scheme, and something didn't quite go as planned.
Yep.
Getting the Marechaussee Phantom to notice Pierre was only the first part of your plan. Had they failed to take notice of the Humane Society, they could have cast a wider net.
True.
And you couldn't predict what they might possibly find if given enough time. This, of course, was the main weakness of your plan.
And once the Special Patrol and Lenny got involved...
As someone accustomed to acting from behind the scenes, you didn't want to take the risk of personally proposing a raid on the Humane Society. society. So, you thought about pulling a few more strings, so all the suspicion would point towards Bernard and his society.
A great option, of course, would be to also dispose of Bonnie and leave her body at the Pierre base in anticipation of later discovery.
Once the Phantom expanded their search, it would only be a matter of time before they found Pierre's base. If a cat last seen with the suspect turned up dead at the imitation synth base, it wouldn't be long until the Phantom would figure out exactly how she had been mistreated and turn their eyes towards the one organization that has been sending boatloads of animals out of Fontaine.
However, something unexpected happened at the base. Bonnie managed to escape in the chaos.
It was probably during your ambush of Pierre. You didn't even have the time to check if she had already been stuffed full of imitation synth. Still, you soon found another opportunity. Before long, Bonnie had made her way back into the city and even popped up on the Steambird. Like Bernard, you desperately wanted to confirm the contents of her stomach, so you hurried to find us. Unlike Bernard, however, you were hoping that Pierre did have the time to make her swallow a load of imitation synth. While investigating the suspect's cat, we unexpectedly discovered that the suspect has been smuggling imitation synth using living animals as intermediaries. That was your plan, in any case. With that, you'd have been able to lead the investigation towards the Humane Society.
Bonnie was very lucky.
Bonnie had managed to escape before Pierre was able to stuff her full of imitation synth. That part of your plan could no longer be carried out. But as shrewd as you were, you came up with another plan right away. You manipulated the Traveler and I to help you identify Bernard as a key suspect.
You knew Lenny was investigating the case with Chevrolet, and you also knew Lynette's previous encounter with the Lefevre family.
You used the Lefevre name as a bait to get us to join your investigation. With 2 extra bodies around, the Special Patrol is sure to soon take note of the strange event of Bernard somehow having a reason to look for Pierre's cat.
Yep.
So, what you're saying is, I went to all that trouble just for the chance that you might put forth the suggestion that would lead you down the wrong path.
Of course, you did far more than that. Just now at Lumiduce Harbor, were you not the person who highlighted the suspicious activities of the society?
Lefevre. Thank you, Frosty. By showing us the port travel logs. Yep.
You even highlighted the society's activities during your compilation of the logs, so they'd be immediately visible to anyone examining the records. Moreover, the logs contained no records of the Port Authority's activities. In other words, your activities.
And what are you trying to suggest with that?
I am insinuating that you had plenty of opportunities to transfer the raw materials for imitation synth from the harbor to a boat, and then sail over to the meeting place full of floating barrels.
Once Bernard had placed the animals inside the barrels, you opened the lens and dumped in the raw materials. As long as you did it before Pierre came to pick for his pickup, there'd be no one on the there'd be no one the wiser.
And that's how neither the trafficker nor the manufacturer knew there was a third person who supplied the raw materials and surreptitiously operated between them.
First, you got in touch with both parties and secured the raw barrels. Then you instructed Bernard to prepare the floating barrels and the animals. After that, you slipped the raw materials into the barrels next to the animals, and then request Pierre to pick up the barrels and bring them back to his base.
Pierre manufactured imitation synth using the raw materials you provided, stuffed the animals, and placed the animals back into the barrels. Having received the green light from you as Pierre, Bernard then retrieved his animals and shipped them out of Fontaine once he had received enough for a full batch.
I can't believe it. I never put 2 and 2 together.
You've sure got an extremely lively imagination.
So what do you think she's going to say next?
Ever thought about a career in writing criminal novels? But do you have any evidence?
But do you have any evidence?
Yep, I guess that.
It appears that it's quite easy to predict what you'll think or say. Then if we apply that to this case, we can also think of a few places to look for incriminating evidence.
True.
You know very well that this case will not end until Pierre is found, so you will have him commit suicide out of fear and shame to end the investigation for good. That way, you can also pin the blame for the overseas smuggling activities, the theft of the harbor's confiscated raw materials, and even the Lefebvre name on him. After all, dead men tell no tales.
True.
But you still want it to appear as if he had sent that last letter to Bernard, so you have to make sure he cannot be found until after Bernard has confessed to the authorities.
Yep.
To do that, you either will hide his body until you found an appropriate time to set up a fake suicide scene, or you'll dump it someplace where it'll be hard to determine the exact time of death. Submerged in water, for instance. The location would ideally allow you to keep the body hidden for some time while also letting you keep an eye on it.
An example of such a place might be be somewhere in your own boat or underneath the water near the harbor. Could also keep him very cool environment to be handled later, or set on fire, make it look like he had burned himself to ground. I'm guessing somewhere in your own boat.
There are only so many options to hide a person's time of death, after all. As long as the Phantom investigates each of the possibilities in turn, they'll surely find Pierre's remains.
True.
Especially since, as the prime suspect who will now be taken into custody, you will no longer have the time to move him or set up a fake suicide scene to cover up the murder.
How absurd. And on what grounds will you order my arrest? Don't think for a second that your spouts of nonsense will amount to any kind of real argument. After all, I'm
Elodie Lefebvre. As the captain of the Special Security and Surveillance Patrol, I hereby declare you as a suspect in the case.
Cheveress, Linny.
You may raise them later during interrogation.
That's right. We received a message from Louis Harbor that you were going to investigate the Humane Society. We didn't expect to run into you at such a critical moment.
While at the harbor, we noticed something else extremely interesting. Apparently, you often used all kinds of excuses to swap your shifts.
Oh, I see.
And if one were to match the times of your shifts to the activities of the Humane Society and those of certain foreign ships, they'd find them to be an exact match.
That's just a coincidence.
Yes, I'm sure you have already thought of a dozen different ways to explain away the suspicious activities, but as far as evidence goes, that should be enough to warrant taking you into custody.
Don't worry. If it turns out that the guards are still unable to find any evidence after all this, Lynette and I will do everything in our power to clear your name.
Although judging by her reaction, I assume no follow-up from us will be needed.
The Lefebvres were infamous for using disguise and infiltration to achieve their goals. Who would have thought that they would have planted someone within the guards?
Judging from the timeline, they likely arranged for you to enter the guards before the fall of the clan. But they probably didn't expect you to turn it to your advantage and use your job to save yourself during the purge.
Not only that, but you actively participated in the interrogation, arrest, and judgment of the Lefebvres during their fall, thus clearing yourself of suspicion.
That makes sense.
You brutally and cruelly abandoned your allies as soon as they outlived their usefulness, just like a lizard cutting off its own tail in order to live. You've been doing this for years.
So you played me like a fool after all?
Bernard is suddenly knocked out by a sudden strike. Okay.
What was that word you used? Ally? You think that someone as foolish as him is worthy to call himself my ally? They were worthless scum, all of them. Not just Bernard and Pierre, but those Lefebvres too. They always just saw me as a tool. I lost all my chances of a normal life just because I was born into their lot. Not only that, but because they wanted me to become an undercover agent, they stripped me of my name, too.
Oh?
I had to live in constant fear of them while they were alive. And even once they were gone, I had to continue to bury my heritage and my name, always worrying that their enemies would come knocking at the door. Do you know anything about what I've been through over all these years? My life as the last Lefebvre?
But that has no excuse to do the crimes you did now.
I don't, and neither do I care.
No one asked about your past. You can save that speech for your trial.
Are you for real? Aren't you a Lefebvre victim too?
Elodie, you're the only one still living under the shadow of a name.
True.
That's enough. Keep your hands where I can see them and do not resist arrest. If you have more to say, save it for the interrogation room.
What a joke. What a joke! Hey!
Oh.
Don't come any closer.
What's that?
The device seems a bit odd. Looks crude, it's made from paper mache. Oh.
I've secretly planted loads of explosives in the Humane Society. Just one step closer, and whether they're cats, dogs, or just unlucky human employees, they'll all be blown up into smithereens. Surely you bunch of goody two-shoes won't let that happen, right?
Try to convince Lily to surrender. Help Traverse intimidate. Assist Lenny in deceiving. Or stealth launch a sneak attack on Olay while she's distracted. Assist in deceiving. Let's start with that. Or persuasion. We gotta act fast, so I'll say stealth. I need to beat 15. Failed.
Did you think I was blind?
Uh-oh, the Gardamex.
Good. She's trying to escape. We need to end this fight as soon as possible.
Okay. That should be easy.
Torn to oblivion.
This is order. Stabilize.
Let's light it up. Everybody stand. Illusion shattered.
Okay, that's that fight.
Busted so quickly, huh? Good thing I've already bought enough time to escape.
Oh. As Olay begins to believe that she may have finally made it. Oh, wait, the cat?
Phew. So I was right after all. It's easier to deal with the person causing the problem than the problem itself.
All this for no improvement. And what about the device she had?
This is it. Looks like it's just a toy.
So she really was just bluffing. Yeah, I
Guess
kind
that's
of figured.
Probably why she suddenly flipped and knocked out Bernard. He probably knew that there were no explosives at the society.
She also pretended like she had a villainous breakdown. As if she had a choice but to kill, no choice but to kill and to escape her life.
Well, given that she never even showed her face to Bernard and Pierre, I had my doubts that she'd have gone to the society in person to plant explosives.
Thank you for your help, everyone. I'll take them back for thorough questioning and find someone better to take over the Humane Society. I might need a few statements from everybody. Would you be able to come with me?
Alright.
If statements are all you need, can Lynette provide them on my behalf?
Aw.
I still need to go back and explain some things to the crew. I also had an appointment with the Traveler before we got interrupted.
In the place where you said I could stop by your place?
Ah, so you do remember. Yes, I invited you to come over to our place.
Yeah.
Once I'm done talking with the troupe, I'll make a nice cup of tea and bring Bonnie to wait for you outside of my door.
Okay. Alright, so recharge with Lynette. So we go to Lynette's place. So I'll just teleport right here. Then we'll go to her house. At least it was solved now. Yeah, I know.
Black tea and a cute kitty. Truly the best combo for standby mode. Want some?
A cup of tea, please.
Mm-hmm. I hope you'll like it.
Are you not interested in any developments from the case?
Not at all. Information is indeed very important, but if you were to try to collect every piece of information you come across, your efficiency would actually decrease.
True.
Plus, if you just think about it, what sounds more fun? Writing a statement or enjoying a tea party?
A cute kitty.
Great answer.
Yeah.
That'd be my pick too. Had we not run into that case, we could have spent the entire day like this. But now I'm running low on both time and energy.
The key isn't how long you spend in standby mode. With quality time, you should be able to recharge more quickly.
You're right. I can sense it. I'm recharging very quickly at the moment.
Still have a question though. When did you start to suspect her?
Something about her rubbed me the wrong way since the very beginning. But to be more precise, it was probably around the time when I saw Bonnie try to get away from her.
Back then, Elodie tried to get close to Bonnie.
Elodie tried to get close, but Bonnie deliberately dodged her. Maybe Bonnie had tried to evade her before at Pierre's base.
I see.
Or perhaps Bonnie just instinctively knew that she wasn't a good person.
True.
Not everyone who likes cats is a good person. But if cats like you, you're probably alright.
Yeah, fair enough.
Humans tend to overthink things, but cats rely on their instincts, and they're pretty sharp. I mean, just look at Bonnie. She took a liking to you the moment you met.
That's true. Oh, kitty. I love that ending. Adventures, investigations, and cats. Alright. So I got an achievement for that one. Let me get that. So that was the main one. So I believe there's still a few more of them. So the other two are the other paths, but since we're at 7:25, we'll end here. Because wait till you see the rewards for all that, yes. But we'll end here for now. Because we'll continue Lynette's story next Thursday. Saturday, I'll not be streaming because I'm going for a haircut, which is needed. So, I'll see you all Thursday. As well as, of course, Frosty, I'll be playing with you as well. During our 3 o'clock meetings and such. Anyways, I'll see everyone next time. Let me see if B-Ring's still streaming. I'll raid her real quick. Yep, she's streaming. We'll go raid B-Ring. Alright. So let me do my outro real quick. If you're not following on Twitch in the background, please give a follow. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Here's my Discord. And have a good day. Anyways, have a good raid, everyone. Bye-bye. Let me just put up the raid. Bye, everyone. Have a good day. And we're raiding B-Ring.